So this is the NTT20 betting show. George Ellick and myself, Ali Maxwell, making betting picks ahead of a full slate of EFL action this weekend and for the next 40 odd weeks throughout the season. It's sponsored by Sky Bet, and it's very strictly for over 18s only. Betting comes with significant risks, and if you're listening to this show, if you're thinking about placing a bet this weekend or any time, please be gamble aware at the start of a long season. It's really important that you understand and avoid the risks that come with gambling. So gambleaware.org to brush up on them. So 2 betting previews done over the last 2 weeks with the split start to the season. This is now, in my eyes, kind of like the FA Cup first round proper.
Okay.
As they call it. The first BS of the season proper.
You would say that after I nailed last week?
Yeah, it's gone really well so far. Our sort of weekend picks, so we've been tacking on the end of the outright previews. First week, we got both of our naps up last week. All 3 picks that you mentioned won. Tranmere at 19-20, Newport, sort of double chance 6-4 you referenced, MK 17-10, all winners. And I got Charlton and Fleetwood both up as well, home wins at 29-20. So not bad at all. I should mention as well my Burton draw no bet pick at Barnsley, 2-0 up after 15 minutes. The 12-5 pick conceded to lose 3-2 in injury time. And also on a more ridiculously rubbish level, my 2 0-0 picks, full-time 3-1 and 4-0 in those 2.
Just the 4 goals. Do you mean 4 goals in each?
4. They both had 4 goals.
Yeah. Is that what you meant instead of 0-0?
Yeah. You just said it wrong.
You're confused.
Said it wrong. So we go again, and we go again with a new structure for the show this season. We've been doing broadly the same stuff for the last few seasons, and we've tweaked it a little bit, basically to freshen things up for us and also to kind of better reflect how we both approach EFL betting as individuals. Previously, we've both done the exact same picks kind of in sequence, and we're not going to do that this year. We're going to mix it up a little bit, and I'll explain it now, but basically you'll just hear it as we go. We'll start with our naps. As always, our best bets of the weekend. They will almost always be a team to win in the 1x2 market. Then George will do a next best, and we'll go straight into goal scorer corner after that. For me, betting on goal scorers in the EFL is what I enjoy most, and also genuinely what I think, based on knowledge and research of the division that we do on the Monday pods, for example, and for these shows, is somewhere where there could be an edge. And I would hope that if I can be disciplined with my staking, really focused, that I could win on goal scorer markets using Sky Bet over the course of the season. So we'll do a goal scorer corner where I'll put up a few goal scorers, and George might chip in with anything that's caught his eye as well. Tell me about Aka Swerve.
Aka Swerve.
Yeah.
Exactly what it says on the tin. Yeah, this is where I'm going to talk about a team that I think you shouldn't put in your ACCA. Now, that could be quite an ezy thing to do if you were to go for like a 7-1 shot. But I'll be aiming for the price, like either odds on around about the even money mark, kind of that short price favourite, who are probably going to be popular to be put into ACCAs. The idea came from a mate of mine last weekend messaging me at 8:04 on Saturday morning saying, "Give us an EFL ACCA, Georgie." I replied saying Bolton, MK, Tranmere, and then a minute later, don't put Crawley in.
There you go.
And Bolton, MK and Tranmere all won. Crawley obviously didn't, and they were very short priced to do so, home to Newport County. So the idea is, obviously we're going to be talking about ACCA frees as well over the course with Sky Bet. And we know that people who listen to these, as with weekends like last weekend where we put a few up correctly, do have ACCAs and put these into ACCAs. So the idea there is I will try and flag a vulnerable favourite not to put in.
Yeah, and that's going to be probably quite helpful for me because I'm then going to put forward a generally 5-fold ACCA, Ali's ACCA, until we find a better name for it.
Definitely be a week where I don't think they will. ACCA Swerve is in your ACCA.
I don't think they will.
There will be.
No, I think we think too similarly for that.
Don't know.
I think we look at the same numbers and the same research.
Could be this week.
I think we will not do that, but it'll be great content if we do. I as I say, I'm trying to reflect on this show how I actually want to be betting, and that's changed over the last few years, and in particular trying to keep stakes smaller now, and that's just a kind of reflection of how I'm living in general, and so for me, because there are always teams that I think represent good value, for me on this show it's going to be beneficial, I think, and fun hopefully, and profitable hopefully, to put them into what will probably be a 5-fold ACCA each week as well. George will finish us off with a long shot or a goal scorer or something like that.
Something fun.
Lots of picks, basically, well-researched, things that we feel very strongly about, things that we'll be backing ourselves as well. So hopefully you enjoy the sort of new feel of the betting show, but ultimately it's going to be the same old boys talking about the same old stuff in the same old way. So if that's what you like, you should be well catered for as well. Time for our naps, our best bets of the weekend. For me, across the whole EFL, the best bet is Birmingham to beat Blackburn at 13-10. Now, this show takes a couple of hours to get turned around and go live, and in that time, prices can change. So just know that at the time of recording, all prices that we quote are the prices at the time of recording on the Sky Bet site and app. So, Birmingham, the best bet of the weekend to win at Blackburn. George, for me, the best part of a new season, particularly when you've got yourself in the weeds with 1-24s before a ball has even been kicked, is when you watch a team and they just sparkle and they basically blow you away, take your breath away. It sounds dramatic, but it does happen pretty much every season with a team in the EFL. And I think across their games against Ipswich, which they drew 1-1, and against Sheffield United on Wednesday night in the Carabao Cup, Birmingham have absolutely blown me away. And I know from messages that we exchanged while sitting on our sofas on Wednesday night that you're feeling pretty similar.
For sure, yeah. I mean, in the 1-24s, we had them 7th. I think, paraphrasing myself, which I think is okay, I said something like, I'm going to have to see it before I believe it. And I think we're seeing it, frankly. With Birmingham, there was always going to be an element of doubt as to how their League One record would translate into the Championship. And especially because last season in League One, so many of the games looked the same, where they came up against sides who knew that they weren't going to be able to kind of fight fire with fire. So we'd sit incredibly deep and we'd see Birmingham dominate the ball and eventually find a way through for the most part. Whereas in the first 2 games of their season so far, and I will mitigate this a little bit by saying that with Carabao Cup form, I think you have to be really careful. I don't think you can take it for granted that a win in the Carabao Cup is much to look at. But it was the manner of the way that their team, both sides obviously made changes in terms of personnel, and Sheffield United had more younger players playing than Birmingham. But visually, having made a lot of changes from the first game to the second, but players coming in who I think we'll see come in maybe more regularly in the likes of Aaron Cashin and Tommy Doyle, this looked like a complete mismatch in terms of quality and ability. And given this is a Sheffield United side that had Callum O'Hare playing, that had Tom Cannon leading the line, that had Robinson back in at centre-back, that had Gustavo Harmach off the bench and produce a moment of magic with the equaliser, but that was basically the only time they ever looked like scoring. Birmingham completely wiped the floor with them. And that comes off the back of a game on Friday night against Ipswich, who are the title favourites, and understandably so in the team we had to be first in the 1-24s, where they may have drawn the game 1-1, but again, they were by far the better team over the course of the game. And there were some things in my mind that needed answering, like Chris Davis as a manager. I can't get away from the fact that taking over Birmingham City in League One is probably the most cushy first job you could possibly get as a manager, and how that would translate. But the early signs are, given the way they set up against Ipswich, given the way they set up against Sheffield United and the way they were able to dominate both games, that it's going to translate incredibly well. And actually coming up against sides who come out a little bit more is going to suit them down to the T. The depth of the squad looks really strong. As I say, loads of changes yesterday and it didn't weaken them at all.
Any public apology needed to Damari Gray?
Not really.
I think you said, I'm not having Damari Gray.
Unbelievable work.
He looks very quick and dribbly to me.
He did some good...
Who could have seen that coming?
He did some good pressing for the first goal yesterday, for sure. The jury's out still, I would say, on Damari and how big a part he'll be for them, but it doesn't really matter. Kyogo looks unbelievably lively, and given how many chances he missed, on top of the very easy one that he scored made by Gray against Blades, it feels like in this team he could score a stupid amount of goals, given that he's generally a very good finisher. Like, sitting here now, and I think we'll do something on the 1-24 at the end of the window in terms of how we assess things after everyone has done their transfers. But Birmingham are 7-1 at the moment with Sky Bet to win the league, and I think that is a really good bet each way, that they're the top price in the market as it stands, in part because, as you say, visually Birmingham are the team that have stood out the most in terms of like sitting and watching them being like, this is a seriously good team, but also because Ipswich have not impressed, not only in the opening game, but also kind of failing against Bromley in the Carabao Cup, which again you take with a pinch of salt. Southampton, who got there in the end against Wrexham, but weren't impressive at 0-0. Like, obviously, it's incredibly early days. Like, you have to mitigate all of these conversations by saying, we'll see what happens. But just on first viewing, where I think quite quickly pre-season, you have to be willing to change your pre-season perceptions really quickly on the basis of the evidence that's put on a show on the pitch. And right now, Birmingham look to me to be the real deal.
Yeah, if you think that you're maybe wrong, I think it's right to flag it as early as possible, rather than stubbornly stick to your guns. And sometimes we do stick to our guns, but on this instance, I think, I'm completely with you, pretty much blown away by the style of play and how it looks to be translating to second tier level. And look, we kind of saw a similar thing with Ipswich when they came up and did the double promotion as well, where, actually the work that they had done in League One, particularly like trying to tease teams onto them so they could play through them, so they could be good in those sort of quick transitional attacks, translated really well when they actually started to get those opportunities, because teams didn't sit off them and didn't treat them with as much respect. I mean, the confidence that they have in playing short passes at the back, the crispness of their first time passing, the 1-2s that they're playing to get out of pressure, and mainly the fact that it's not purely ideological and it's not purely dogmatic, that they will, and they seem to choose the right times, go long and have targets at the top of the pitch, whether it's the right back bombing on and getting in behind the left back, which is happening quite a lot, or even Kyogo, although he's small, like so quick off the mark, if he knows the ball is coming from the goalkeeper, can kind of get in behind. So lots to like, depth and quality in pretty much every area of the pitch as well. I'm loving it. You mentioned Kyogo. I really like the fact that they look to me like they've got really strong defenders as well. Clara was brilliant last season. I'm not surprised that he stepped up well. Neumann looked very good on opening day. Cashin came in to play in the cup game and we know is a pretty solid penalty box defender. I think Cochrane's really underrated at left back, really strong defender and just solid all-rounder. And the midfielders as well have a bit of bite to them as well. So fair to say we're pretty blinded by Blues at the moment, albeit it's early days. George has mentioned their price to win the division. They are my best bet of the weekend to win at Blackburn, who haven't had an ideal start to the season. A 1-0 defeat away at West Brom, absolutely no shame in that. They didn't play horrendously, they didn't play particularly well. A home defeat to Bradford in the Carabao Cup didn't help things very much. They were 2 down after 4 minutes in that game, and sort of huffed and puffed, but didn't come back into it, having made some changes. What really hasn't helped off the back of those 2 results is Lewis Travis, their midfielder, asking to leave the club so he can join John Eustace at Derby. John Eustace must be the most popular former manager of all time, with the rate that the players seem to want to rejoin him whenever he moves on. And that's a bit of a problem for them, because Travis and Tronstad, really solid central midfield partnership. Tronstad +1, still not sure whether him and Tavares, for example, will be able to provide exactly what him and Travis did. I don't think it's a great side, this Blackburn side. I can't see them hanging with Birmingham here if Birmingham play anything like they have done in the last 2 games. And they look so at it straight away that I don't see why they would suddenly drop off in this game. They'll make some changes to get some freshness back in. And Rovers, I'm still not yet discovered the quality of these 3 or 4 new starters who they signed over the summer. But I must admit, the NTT20 transfer team, the wider team who knows more about some of the guys they signed, wasn't in love with their business. Birmingham to beat Blackburn. A very long-winded nap, but hopefully you can understand why. It's a big stance for us early this season.
Of a long-winded nap.
What's your best bet of the weekend?
Going to League 2, to the Crewe Derby.
Oh, yeah?
Crewe against Crawley. I'm backing Crewe to win this one at 17-20. Tackling a couple of the accusations of teams that I hate in the first 10 minutes of this podcast.
Nice.
Crewe have been so impressive in their first 2 games. I definitely didn't see it coming. I think the quality of the teams that they've played in the 2 games will age pretty well. Salford on opening day, who they beat away from home, and then they beat an Aki team last time out 2-0, who I'm pretty confident are much better than everyone thinks they are, as supported by knocking out League One opposition in the Carabao Cup on Tuesday night to kind of piggyback off the back of a decent display on opening day. And not only did Crewe beat them both relatively comfortably, with a real ease at creating chances that I think had been lost in Lee Bell's side for quite a long time going into the season. And they're probably the team in League 2 that I've had to very quickly reevaluate and completely change my mind on, having seen them as being a team who if they continue where they left off last season and struggling to see why they'd improve, we're going to struggle to now being a team who look to me to be one of those who the market might be quite slow to realise how good they are. Of course, that might change. It's only 2 games, but right now they look good. And it's a perfect match because they come up against a Crawley team who I'm probably would argue have shown the least over 2 games so far, pretty much in the whole EFL. Their only away game so far on opening day, they were absolutely battered by Grimsby. Town went ahead within 10 minutes. And despite coming back into the game, having gone behind, it was one-way traffic. And Crawley, I don't think, had a shot until past 55 minutes. Grimsby were by far the better team, totally deserving of their 3-0 scoreline. And then Crawley should have had what looked like the perfect game to follow that up and put it out of mind, where they hosted Newport County, the team who are favourites to finish bottom in the league, at home. And they lost the game 2-1, having been 2-0 down and scoring a late consolation goal and never really, having missed some chances, but never really making any kind of dominance obvious over the course of the game. So, pre-season, you got a side in Crew who are seen to be bottom half, Crawley, who no one really knew, but a relegated side, probably top half. And right now, you could argue that Crew have been the best team in League Two so far and Crawley have been the worst team in League Two so far, and they meet. And it's just a shade of odds on, and that is fine with me. So it's 17-20. Crew are my best value bet of the weekend.
So in terms of our staking plan on this show this weekend and going forward, our naps are 2-point selections. The next best is a 1-pointer. What is your next best?
My next best is Oldham, staying in League Two. Oldham hosting Swindon. And I'm still just really struggling, having tackled 2 teams of accusations I don't like. Now I'm getting against Swindon.
Swindon for the hat-trick.
Yeah, no, but I'm getting against them. So bring it on. Swindon, I just cannot work out their place in every single market. I just don't get it. They've had 2 games so far this season. They beat Cambridge last time out 3-2, but that was 3-2 from 9 shots and an XG of about 0.75. Good finishing rather than any relentless kind of goal threat. And having gone ahead inside an hour, they didn't have a shot in the last half an hour of that game, kind of clinging on for dear life. I mean, in fairness, I take that back because Cambridge didn't create loads, but from an attacking point of view so far this season, there's a lot left to be desired from Swindon, having failed to beat 10-man Walsall on opening day, where they got a late equaliser only for Walsall to peg them back and win the game 2-1. I can't work out why Swindon would be seen at this moment in time as one of the better teams in League Two, but that's what they have to be 6-4, which is what they are away at Oldham. And this is an Oldham team who I think have shown in a couple of games that there's a lot to be quite positive about, quite excited about. They drew 1-1 last time out against Colchester at home, but it was a ridiculously good display from Oldham. Having gone 1-0 down within 10 minutes, they then just absolutely battered Cole U and should have won the game and missed a lot of chances to do so in the second half, quickly missing a couple of very good chances kind of midway through the second half. And that came off the back of a 0-0 draw against MK, where they restricted MK to very little. They didn't create much themselves, but given what MK then went and did at Barrow the weekend after, suggested that might be more to do with Oldham than MK themselves. So 2 really good displays from Oldham. I think they're being at home for them to be 9-5 compared to the 7-5 that we're seeing with Swindon. I don't really get. I sat here last week and said I don't think MK Dons should be outsiders against Barrow. I don't think Oldham at home should be outsiders against Swindon, and that's where they're my next best.
Now it's time for Goal Scorer Corner. This will mostly be my thing, but I will let George in the room every now and then if he's been good. So George has done a 1-point next best. For me, Goal Scorer Corner will generally entail 2.5 of my 5 points. This is, as I mentioned, quite simply what I enjoy the most. I sat on Wednesday night watching that Birmingham Sheffield United game, going through every single goal scorer market across the EFL, and I had an amazing time, and it was made better by the fact that I've got a longer leash now. I don't have to boil it all down to just one name. I can spread myself out and have a bit more fun. And this is one where research I find more fun. I enjoy watching set pieces on Wyscout and seeing which centre-backs are throwing themselves at things, which teams are looking wobbly, but also there might be some players in more attacking roles as well, things where I think I've seen a player playing in a role but is being priced up as maybe playing in a more defensive role, and therefore might be some value there. So before I get into this, I have to mention the Anytime Notebook podcast. It's been going for a few years, and it is a whole podcast on betting on goal scorers in the EFL. It's done by Gav and by John. They are brilliant. I love listening to it. I always have. And they do clearly exactly what I like doing as well. So I don't want to be sort of treading on anyone's toes here. They have an amazing community of listeners as well who contribute plenty of their own thoughts and research. And I love listening to that show. So I recommend that if you like betting on goal scorers in the EFL, that you listen to that as well. I dare say there might be the odd bit of crossover in picks, given that we're all basically looking at the same stuff and at the same market. So I definitely want to recommend the Anytime Notebook. So my shortlist of defenders to score this weekend has 3 on it. Devon Matthews of Accrington at 28-1, Alfie Kilgore of Bristol Rovers at 22-1, and Tristan Kramer of Millwall at 22-1. But the one that I'm picking is Devon Matthews at the longest price at 28-1. He's Accrington Stanley's centre-back. I'm putting half a point on him to score any time at 28-1 with Sky Bet. He got his head on 2 bits against Gillingham on opening day, including one from pretty close range, which he almost scored. He had 2 efforts against Posh in the Carabao in midweek as well. 28-1 for a big League Two centre-back like him, he's come up from the National League North and he's meat and potatoes. He's head it and kick it. And he joined in January. He played 20 games straight in the first team. They obviously really like him at Aki. He didn't score in those 20 games in League Two last season, but with Curzon Ashton in the National League North, where he spent a couple of seasons, he scored 8 in 112 games, which is a goal every 14 games. So at 28-1, I'm seeing value if you stretch back and look long-term at his goal-scoring trends. Salford looked pretty wobbly defending their box against Crewe on opening day. They do have one very physically imposing centre-back called Oluwo, who was a great goal-scorer pick last week for many, sadly not for me. But not many other aerially dominant players in their team. And so I think a team like Aki, who have a couple of big boys, there should be opportunities for them. So Devon Matthews is my big meaty centre-back at 28-1, taking half a point of my staking. And then towards the top of the pitch, the long list has Kai Whitmore of Newport, who scored last week. He's at 9-1 this weekend. Rob Apter at 7-1 for Charlton at Bristol City. I really like the look of the new lad up front for West Brom, Hegerber, at 11-4. Quadwo Bar, a similar price, looks electric in midweek, is up against a poor QPR defence. Joe Gelhard for Hull against Oxford at 3-1, I think could be value. Hey. And then 2 strikers in the Championship that I think look really sharp. Josh Sargent and Mihailo Ivanovic at 9-4, I think are both interesting. But the 2 that I'm backing are Rob Apter, 1 point at 7-1. Charlton's Rob Apter at Bristol City. Now, this is one where if you're listening to this, it's probably worth checking the team news, because I think there's a chance that Apter won't start in away games. I think there's a chance that Jones will go for a much more defence-minded selection in away games, and I think that Apter could be one to lose his place. But he did start on opening day. He looked really dangerous. He got lots of shots off. He's been a favourite of the betting show for quite a few seasons now. And I think this is a good role for him, just asking him to do what he does best, basically get on the ball driving side and get shots off. And as an added wrinkle, Bristol City currently have Yu Hirakawa playing at left wing back, who is basically a winger by trade, and I would say probably not the best 1v1 defender, and that gives me a bit more juice for Apter. So Rob Apter, a point at 7-1. And last but not least, I mentioned him already, the man known as Hulken in his home country. That is Aune Hegerber, the West Brom striker. I'm backing him at 11-4 to score for Baggies at Wrexham in the early kickoff on Saturday with 1 point. He's just looked really bright at the top of the pitch in both league and cup games so far. And it's not just him, it's the fact that Isaac Price playing in a number 10 role looks brilliant as well, which is creating space for Hegerber because he's been such a handful. It's the fact that Tom Fellows is playing right wing, whose cutbacks were perfect for Madger last season and should be perfect for Hegerber this season as well. So there's lots to like about this. And while Wrexham did do well against Saints, in the end they did give up 27 shots and 10 on target. And I think there's a chance that West Brom can have some joy against them. And Hegerber at 11-4, I just think if he's as good as he looks so far, this sort of price isn't going to be lasting very long for him. So Hegerber at 11-4, Apter at 7-1, and Devon Matthews at 28-1. Here endeth the first goal scorer corner. Would you like to step in?
Yeah, I'll come in today.
Sure.
I've got one.
Welcome.
Alfie Kilgore.
Hey.
Bristol Rovers.
I just said that.
Yeah.
He was on my long list.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
He's my selection.
I like that.
Kind of annoyed he said it now. 22-1 he is. He's had... Do you know... I should have framed this another way.
Go on.
Ali.
Yeah.
Do you know who's had the most shots in League Two this season?
Wow, it must be someone that takes loads of shots from an attacking position. I don't know who that would be. Maybe Dylan Duffy?
Josh March.
Oh, wow.
And Alfie Kilgore with 7. Yeah, he had 5 against Harrogate on opening day, which I think normally you could write off as a bit of an anomaly because that was a crazy first half where Gas had loads of set pieces and challenged from a lot of them. But he still had 2 in their second game of the season. And it does feel like Bristol Rovers so far, from an attacking perspective, haven't necessarily nailed their kind of systems yet and are quite reliant on set pieces. They're away at Chesterfield. I've got no massive concerns about Chesterfield's defensive aptitude from set piece situations, but I do think the Bristol Rovers are probably going to struggle to create loads in open play, which means they might be fairly reliant on set pieces. And in Kilgore, they have someone who is clearly the focal point for that. He scored 4 goals last season over the course of the campaign for Mansfield, so he's a set piece threat. So generally 22-1 for him to score any time is value anyway, if you just take that as literal. But given his size and his propensity to get to the ball first, it feels like if they're going to get chances from set pieces, he's going to profit from them. So 22-1, which again, Sky bet the best price of anybody on the odds checker grids. That looks generous to me. So yeah, just kind of cramming myself into the corner of goal scorer corner
nice.
With Arthur Kilgore together holding hands.
Soon I'm going to do the first Ali Zaka of the season, but before it might be helpful for me to hear George's Aka swerve pick.
Yeah, I'm going to just warn you off. And this is the annoying thing is if when these win, I'll be like, hey, I could have won more. But hey ho. Bristol City, my Aka swerve this week. They are odds on at home to Charlton, 17-20. I just think there's a bit of a trap in backing teams off the back of a resounding opening day win when, yes, they were really good, but alarm bells definitely around Sheffield United and their performance levels, especially off the back of a poor Carabao Cup display. Secondly, the fact that they scored 4 of their first 5 shots on target of the season. Thirdly, that Scott Twine scored one of the most incredible free kicks to open the scoring in the first place. Like there are just too many warning signs for me. But the most important point for this is that the way that I think Bristol City are going to play this season under Gerhard Struber probably couldn't have picked a better opposition for opening game of the season. Like an idealist in Sayers who is always going to throw loads of men forward with a back line of Tyler Bindon making his first championship appearance and Reece Norrington-Davis. Like it was absolutely, and attacking fullbacks and Burrows and Sariki. Like it couldn't have been better for the way that Bristol City like to attack and want to attack and transition. Unlike Charlton. And Nathan Jones has become just an absolute master of defending space. And he will know exactly how Gerhard Struber wants to approach this game. He'll know exactly what they have to avoid doing, and I'm pretty sure we will see Charlton defend incredibly deep and look to frustrate and hit them in transition. And as such, I almost think the Bristol City's breathtaking transition play last weekend is a bit of a red herring, and you can almost ignore it. So Charlton really good defensively, great performance on opening day with a 1-0 win over Watford. Their top price again with Sky Bet to win this game at 16-5, which I wouldn't put you off at all. But I think the Aka swerve here, if you're going to do your Akas and you normally look at the odds on ones and you see Bristol City at home and you're like, yeah, they beat Sheffield United 4-1. This is a gift. I'm not convinced.
Nice, like it. Good news is I feel the same way about that game, and yeah, I'm feeling quite good about the Charlton price myself. They're not in my fivefold, so the fivefold. Look, if I can get 2 up this season, we should be in really good shape anymore, and we will be dancing at the end of the season, probably on foreign soil, I would imagine, with some holidays being paid for, hopefully. Yeah, okay, time for the first Ali Zaka of the season. Really need to find a better name for it. Hate it already, and we're only halfway through the first show. This is at 57-1. I guess the prices will obviously fluctuate in a fivefold, but my stated aim is to get at least 2 up in the season. Any more than that, and we'll be dancing. Well, we'll be on holiday. Any more than that. The first leg is Oldham, and you've already told me all about Oldham, so that's just as well. I think there is growing evidence of them being a very, very strong team based on the 2 league games so far. So I think the price 9-5 is lovely. Birmingham, I've already mentioned my nap at 13-10, 2.3 at Blackburn, and Millwall also in the Championship. They're at home to Borough. The price is tumbling a little, but we're at 2.15, the decimal as we record. Really good signs on opening day at Norwich. Fantastic second half after a solid first. Won the game and deserved to win the game. Ended last season as a much better team than Middlesbrough, and there's nothing yet that is screaming at me to tell me that would be any different starting this campaign. So Millwall at home always feels good to be on board, and they are the third leg of my ACCA. I'm backing Huddersfield as well. They've obviously started the season really nicely in League One. They're at Blackpool, who've had an absolute horror show so far. And ordinarily, I'd be, my sort of radar would be pinging about just backing a team on maximum points to beat a team that's lost both games. But the manner of Blackpool's defeats, in particular their defending, in the second game, where it wasn't individual errors, it was system errors that allowed them to get thrashed at Exeter. No Fraser Horsfall, he's injured, and it just looks terrible for me. So Huddersfield have been pretty solid, lots of set piece threat, and once they've gone ahead in both games through set pieces, quality attackers have enjoyed the space they've been afforded and extended those leads. So at 2.6, I really like Huddersfield for this. And to round out the fivefold, a real shorty, MK at home to Cheltenham, 1.57 as we record. Obviously a very, very, very short price, but just so hard for me to imagine Cheltenham getting anywhere near them. MK have barely conceded a shot on target in their 5 or 6 league games under Paul Warne so far. Collins is injured, but I still think they should have enough at the top of the pitch to score, and Cheltenham have not looked good going forward at all. They also played on Wednesday night, and it was basically a first team that, in fairness, did a good job in the Cup and beat Exeter, but I still think MK a worthy short price. So that's my fivefold. In the Championship is Birmingham and Millwall. In League One is Huddersfield. In League Two, it's Oldham and MK Dons, and it's currently at 57-1 with Sky Bet. So those are all of our individual picks, and to end the show, just to bring a sense of community within the studio, it's a joint pick. It's a 6-fold BTTS ACCA where we both put 3 up. It might be a different goals type bet over the course of the season. We tend to mix and match, pick and choose as we go, whatever we fancy. This week, it's a 6-fold BTTS ACCA around the 34-35-1 mark. And George, you are contributing.
As everyone loves, I'm going to do an early kick-off for my first selection. Wrexham, West Brom, 10-11. I can't believe this. Wrexham home games are always pretty nuts. I think we've seen in the display against Southampton, where they conceded twice late, but conceded quite a few chances before that. In the 3 goals conceded against Hull, that against Championship defences, I'm not entirely sure. Sorry, Championship attacks. I'm not entirely sure this Wrexham defence is going to be quite as strong as it was last season. But they obviously carry big attacking threat. I'm amazed that's as big a price as it is. I was almost tempted to have that as one of my selections, but I didn't. Exeter Mansfield, Exeter scoring 4 last time out and looking pretty lively. Mansfield's game's been really end-to-end so far. Again, a game where it looks to me like it should be pretty, the onus on attacking play, with neither team looking particularly solid defensively thus far, neither keeping a clean sheet yet. And then Doncaster Wickham, mainly because Wickham just look like a team that can't really defend to me, but can do some quite exciting stuff going forward. They've gone 2-0 down quite early in both of their games so far. Donny obviously looking really strong, scored 4 in midweek, have won both of their games. So yeah, again, it looks like a fairly obvious one for, I don't see why either team should struggle from an attacking perspective. So Wrexham, West Brom, Exeter Mansfield, Donny Wickham.
And I'm adding Watford QPR 10-11. Have you seen QPR's defence?
Yeah.
On opening day. Escardinha at left back. The youngster Kieran Morgan, a midfielder by trade at right back. Morrison and Mbenge, the centre backs, with Walsh in goal. Steve Cook might return to start here. He came off the bench on opening day. Even so, Watford's attackers like Quadwo, like Iran Kunda, must be licking their lips. But QPR's attack, we're looking at Poku, we're looking at Chair, we're looking at Kader Dembele, we're looking at maybe Richard Kone coming in for his debut. We like that a lot, and we like goals in that game at Watford. Orient against Stockport, similar price. Stockport so far this season have won both games, but they haven't looked entirely watertight, facing 29 shots and 8 on target in their 2 games so far. Orient still kind of finding their feet, I think, with a new set of players. Looked pretty dynamic in attack last weekend. Stockport have plenty of ways to hurt you at the moment, the most potent looking like crosses from new wing-backs Dodgson and O'Keefe, and headers from Kyle Wootton or perhaps Nathan Lowe, who scored 1 in midweek. And last but not least in League One, Wigan and Peterborough. Peterborough seem close to crisis, I think it's fair to say, and may struggle here up at Wigan, with Darren Ferguson saying that the good thing he can say about his team is they're very good at playing against mannequins, but when they play against actual human kins, they're not so good.
Human kins.
For Wigan, I mean, some issues with injury at the back. James Carragher sadly picked up a mid-termer. Will Ameson is absent without leave. Not sure where he is. AWOL. Morgan Fox might come in. John Mellish doesn't seem particularly fancied. So Jason Carr's doing a lot of heavy lifting at the moment at the back. Sessegnon, of course, got that rather embarrassing red card plus OG last weekend. So I think not looking great at the back. Wigan and Peterborough, at their worst, still have lots of fast attacking players, which isn't the worst thing to have. So Wigan and Peterborough rounded off. The sixfold is Wrexham and West Brom, Watford and QPR, Leyton Orient and Stockport, Exeter and Mansfield, Wigan and Peterborough, and Doncaster Wickham for the sixfold, which with Sky Bet is at 35.86. That brings us to the end of the first NTT20 betting show proper of the season. Hope you've enjoyed it. Just to recap our selections, my best bet of the weekend is Birmingham to beat Blackburn at 13-10. My goal scorers are Devon Matthews at 28-1 of Accrington, half a point. Rob Apter of Charlton, 7-1, 1 point. And Aoun Hegebe Hulken, the Hulk, 11-4 joint best price with Sky Bet 1 pointer. And my fivefold ACCA at 57-1 is Birmingham, Millwall, Huddersfield, Oldham, and MK Dons.
My nap, Crew to beat Crawley at 17-20. Oldham to beat Swindon, my next best at 9-5. I'm telling you not to put Bristol City in your ACCA. That is the first ever ACCA swerve. And then my long shot / goal scorer / whatever you want to call it, extra bet, Alfie Kilgore of Bristol Rovers to score anytime at 22-1 against Chesterfield.
Lots to think about there. Really enjoying being back, and we will be doing exactly the same as we did today for the next approximately 40 weeks. So make sure you subscribe. Whether you're watching on YouTube, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple, please do subscribe. And if you've enjoyed the show, if you could drop us a 5-star review or a comment, that would be really helpful as well for algorithmic purposes. We dance to the tune of the algo. But actually, thanks to the Reverters, we dance to the tune of their track, Sound of the Start of the Weekend, to finish the betting show. Thank you so much to Sky Bet for sponsoring Not the Top 20 podcast, and to you for listening. Have a great weekend and go well.